Good morning. Today, I'm going to share my analysis for next week, on my 8 favorite financial exchanges, on weekly and daily charts. Trend and directionality are bullish. The price has made a neutral movement, opening and closing at roughly the same point. On the daily chart we can see that the price has been rejected by the EMA 20, which however represents an insignificant level. During the week, I will evaluate any bullish signals. An interesting pattern could be a new price bounce on the daily EMA 20, followed by a candle able to break the high of Friday's candle. I advise to operate with caution. The bullish movement has weakened, and therefore the price could continue to fall a little longer, perhaps to reach the daily level. Trend and directionality are bullish. This exchange often moves in correlation with AUD/JPY. In fact, even in this case the movement was almost identical. On the daily chart, the price movement appears somewhat weakened. As mentioned last week, the bearish divergence has been invalidated, but it is still a sign that should not be underestimated, especially given the presence of this sideways phase. Despite this, directionality remains bullish. During the week, I will evaluate any bullish signals. An interesting pattern could be a candle able to break out the previous week's high. I advise to operate with particular caution also on this exchange. Often the lateral phases cause stop losses even when the direction is correct. The trend is bullish, while the direction is uncertain. The price has made a modest bullish movement, without being able to invalidate the candle of the last week. For this reason, the movement appears as a retracement of the bearish weekly candle, rather than a resumption of the previous movement. During the week, I will be evaluating trades in both directions. Indeed, the price may start to rise again to attempt a new high, but it is also possible that it will continue to retrace to try to reach the daily EMA 100. In case of uncertain direction, I generally look for signals in both directions, or wait for the situation to be clarified. I therefore recommend choosing one of these two options, working very carefully if you choose the first. Both the trend and the directionality are bullish. During the week, the price has made a decent rise, immediately after bouncing off the upper weekly level. On Thursday, the price also managed to make a new high, but retraced the following day. On the daily chart, we can see that the MACD oscillator is in lateralization, a very clear signal that the bullish movement has lasted for some time. Despite this, for the moment there are no clear signs of a reversal of directionality. During the next week, I will evaluate any bullish signals. An interesting pattern could be the price bounce on the daily EMA 20, followed by a nice bullish candle. The trend is bullish, while the direction is uncertain. As in the case of the EUR/USD, the modest bullish movement appears as a retracement of the previous candle, and this is a signal that indicates a possible change of direction. The next week is likely to be decisive. On the daily chart, we can see the notable bearish divergence on the MACD oscillator, already reported earlier. For this reason, I have indicated the directionality as uncertain. During the next week, I will evaluate trades in both directions. An interesting bullish pattern could be a candle, able to break out of the high of the last 2 weeks. An interesting bearish pattern could be a candle that is able to break out of the low of the last 2 weeks. I recommend working with particular caution on this exchange, as always when the direction is uncertain. Trend and directionality are bearish. During the week, the price started to fall again, making a movement of very similar magnitude to that of the previous week. On the daily chart, it can be seen that the bullish divergence on the MACD oscillator has generated a rather modest movement for now. For the time being, the price seems willing to attempt a new low, although, to do so, it will have to exceed 2 daily levels, one of which is also a weekly level. During the next week, I will evaluate any bearish signals. An interesting pattern could be the price bounce on the daily EMA 20, followed by a nice bearish candle. Trend and directionality are bearish. During the week, the price continued to rise, with little force and without being able to definitively overcome the last bearish candle. On the daily chart, there are always numerous bullish divergences, which clearly show how much the spring is compressed. In the short term, we are likely to see a large upside. Despite this, there are no clear bullish signs at the moment, so directionality remains bearish. As always, I will evaluate any bearish signals on the lower time frames only. Trend and directionality are bearish. During the week, the price started to fall again, with a small movement. On the daily chart, we can see that the short bullish movement confirmed the divergence present on the MACD oscillator. Directionality remains bearish, as there are no clear elements suggesting a change. During the week, I will evaluate any bearish signals. An interesting pattern could be the price rebound on the daily level, followed by a nice bearish candle, able to break out of the low of the last candles. Thank you, and see the next week.